Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Alderman Boyd, you're on mute.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Hubbard,
Present.
Alderman Coder,
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd, Chairman Rhodey,
Present.
Alderman Boyd,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd. 6 present, you have quorum.
Okay. First order of business will be, we'll hold off on the excused alder people. We'll go to approval of the minutes for the January 20th meeting. I could have a motion to that effect.
So
I move
moved.
to approve the minutes of the January 20th HUD's committee meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd, Chairman Rhodey.
Present. Oh, aye. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do two things at once here.
6 aye votes.
I'm sorry, my computer, for some reason, my connection's a little slow. At this point, before we take up the board bills, we should read it, rule number 27 to be read before the meeting. After the presentation of a bill at any public hearing, the proponents and opponents shall be heard alternatively. All persons who wish to testify at a public hearing shall sign a list which shall be made available by the chairman of the committee at least 1/2 hour before the announced time. The initial presentation of any witnesses shall be no longer than 5 minutes, except with the permission of the committee chairman. But any witness may respond to questions by members of the committee for an additional period of time to be determined by the committee chairman. And any witness may submit written testimony to the committee at any time prior to the conclusion of the hearing on the bill. So with that, then we can go back and we have 2 board bills before us. We typically try to take up the board bills of the alder persons that are not on the committee. So in deference to that, we will go ahead and take up board bill number 238 first, which is sponsored by the Alderwoman Murphy.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I would like to introduce Board Bill 238. I'm just going to read from the, I have a speaker and I just want to read from the summary. This bill amends Ordinance 67119 to prohibit employers and labor organizations from advertising to individuals of certain race, creed, color, sexual orientation, gender, 3, identity, national origin, religion, and disability are not accepted for employment or membership. 4, prohibit landlords from declining rental applications because of victims of domestic violence. 6, termination of lease and allow landlords to buy for Kate leases to remove offenders as victims of and the main thing is that the victims of the domestic violence had to have taken out an order of protection in order for this to move forward. And the same way with the fabricate, I'm probably saying that wrong, of leases. They can't terminate the victim's lease if that person has requested and received an order of protection. The offender can be removed, but not the victim. And if, before there's any questions, I have Charles Bryson here from CREA to speak on that and to answer any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Why don't we hear from Mr. Bryson, who's the only signed up speaker on this bill, and then we can go through the committee and ask questions. Mr. Bryson?
Mr. Chairman? Oh, there he is. He's in there. Mhm.
Oh, is he available now?
He's available now. He's on the line.
Okay. Mr. Bryson, yeah, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you. So certainly an honor and pleasure to be here, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the board. I simply am going to take up where Alderwoman Murphy sort of started. What this legislation basically does is it increases the enforcement efforts in our community, provides more protections for more people, and it also helps the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency, because many times there's a case or there's a situation that is not necessarily fit under our civil rights laws, but certainly is something that we need to consider in our operation. And we previously have said we only are going to do things that are related to 67119 and those companion laws, but this gives us the ability to look at some of the gray areas that we are confronted with every day and try and work hard to get them addressed. So I'm going to walk through the legislation, and certainly I'll be available later should there be any questions. Section 2, Subpart 2 talks about labor organizations, and it's discriminate and it is illegal to discriminate based on protected class. Subpart 3 is for temporary agencies and discrimination on the basis of class. By class, I mean the protected class, both federal, state, and local classes that have been identified as possible subject of discrimination. Subpart 4 talks about advertising, and that includes direct or indirect advertising. So whether it's in a newspaper, whether it's on the radio or in person, and somebody says something in person to another person, we consider that a form of advertising as well. And expressly as it relates to hiring in terms of that advertisement. Subpart 6 is discrimination in schools or education facilities. And we've all heard conversations over the years about certain amount of discrimination against against people in some of our educational facilities. That would certainly outlaw that on the basis of discrimination. Subpart 9 prohibits preferential treatment on the basis of protected class. So you can't get in just because you are a protected class. It also allows other provisions thereof. Subpart 10 prohibits indication or advertising of a member of a protected class is unwelcome, objectionable, not acceptable, or in other terms or phrases. And so you cannot use phrasing related to any member of a protected class that says that they're unwelcome, they're objectionable, etc. On pages 7 and 8, we've increased the efforts to reduce discrimination against persons with disabilities, and there's several provisions in the ordinance around housing and accommodation and modification of a unit so that persons can live there who have a disability. In section 4, both all A, B, C, D, and E prohibit landlords and property owners from certain activities related to a person being a victim of domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking. And we believe that that's extremely important now as we see both men, women, and in the LGBTQI community. People are the victims of one of those, and we want to make sure that landlords accept people as they are, number one, but more importantly, allow people a chance for housing without respect to domestic violence, sexual assault, or stalking. And so that is, as I've tried to say previously, those are some of the changes that we believe need to be made that will begin to update our civil rights legislation in total to where we are in 2021. And with that, I'll stop and answer any questions as you all deem appropriate. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Beth Murphy, for Alderwoman Murphy for shepherding this bill. And certainly, thank you, Mayor Cruzen, for allowing the bill to come to fore.
Thank you. Let's see, where are we now? Let's go through the list. Alderman Boyd, do you have any questions of Mr. Bryce?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions, but I'd like to sign on as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could add the Alderman from the 22nd as a co-sponsor. Alderwoman Davis, do you have any questions for the for Mr. Bryson or the sponsor, Alderwoman Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick statement. It is so important that this bill is brought forward. It's very difficult when people are in these strange situations, most especially the domestic situations. So I do appreciate this bill, and I'd like to be listed as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Madam Clerk, please add the Alderwoman from 19th as a co-sponsor. Our next in seniority on our committee is Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Hubbard, do you have any questions for either of the speakers?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Alderman Kotar, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to be added as co-sponsor.
Madam Clerk, please add the Alderman from the 7th as a co-sponsor. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Spencer's not with us. Okay. Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good job here, team. Mr. Bryson, Alderwoman Murphy. I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor, and I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please add the Alderman from the 16th as a co-sponsor. Alderwoman Boyd. Is Alderwoman Boyd with us yet?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Multitasking in the snow.
You have any questions for the, no questions. Okay, we have several members.
No questions. And could I be a co-sponsor, please?
Madam Clerk, please add the Alderwoman from the 27th as a co-sponsor. We also have several Alder people here who are not on the committee. If if any of them would like to ask questions or have anything to add, please raise your hand. Oh, okay. Alderwoman Evans has raised her hand. I'm sorry, Alderwoman, I was looking for the icon on the side of the screen. I didn't see you raising your hand in the little screen, in the other screen here. If someone could, okay, demute.
Gotcha. I would also like to have my name added as a co-sponsor on this bill as well, if I could.
Madam Clerk, please add Alderwoman Evans as a co-sponsor. Alderman Gunther has raised his hand to speak. If we could recognize Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Chairman Rohde. I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to ask my name to be added as well.
Madam Clerk, please add the Alderman from the 9th as a co-sponsor on the legislation. Okay, I believe that is the extent of comments from the committees. If there's nothing else, the sponsor, do you care to say anything else in closing, or are you ready for us to?
No, I guess just in closing, I thank everyone for their support. And I think this is needed. And I believe that the landlords and everyone are protected and the victims of violence are protected also. An order of protection has to be asked for and received in order for any of this to take place. So I believe everyone is safe and this is needs to go forward. So do you want my motion now?
Well, actually, we have to have a committee member make the motion, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to pass this board bill out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Is there a such motion out there?
Mr. Chairman, I move we pass Board Bill 238 out with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
It was moved by the Alderman from I think that was the 16th. I'm sorry, I didn't hear who was the second?
Excuse me.
22nd Ward.
22nd Ward was the second.
Chairman Rhodey,
Yes.
Alderwoman Boyd was not on the minutes from the previous row.
Okay, so we'll have an object.
I'll withdraw my request.
So there is no request for the previous roll. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Chairman Rhodey.
Aye.
7 aye votes.
By your vote, you have affirmed the motion of the Alderman from the 16th Ward, and Board Bill number 238 is passing the committee with a due pass recommendation. Next up on the list is our colleague from the 19th Ward, Board Bill number 203. Alderwoman from 19th, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I can't hardly talk this morning. I'd like to move forward with my board bill. And what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to speak right now. I do have a staff representative from Cultural Resources available. I'm going to allow him to take the time that I would normally take. I'm just wanting to ask him to give the information on the bill and explain how it came about. And I do believe that I have another speaker signed up too. So you could allow us to just move forward.
You do, you are correct. We have two speakers in favor of the board bill. Mr. Daniel Krasnoff from our Cultural Resource Center, and then the trustee of the Central Baptist Church, Gail Brown. We'll begin by recognizing the Dan Krasnoff will recognize Ms. Brown, and then we'll go through and ask questions of the committee. Go ahead, proceed, Mr. Krasnoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you all today about this exciting nomination for a city landmark for the Central Baptist Church at 2842 Washington Boulevard in the Midtown neighborhood in the city of St. Louis. Central Baptist is a church that is celebrating its 175th anniversary this year. It is a church that is important both for the history of the congregation as well as for the architecture expressed at the site, which is a mid-century modern building, excuse me, from the 1970s. Unfortunately, their previous church building burned in the early 1970s, and they constructed a new church, which has wonderful mid-century details in terms of its brickwork and its use of stained glass in an interesting and innovative way. The church has been a major producer of housing in the area, as well as a supporter of civil rights and social activities in the Midtown neighborhood. And all those are reasons that more than justify its being listed as a city landmark. The church has gone through the procedures necessary to become a city landmark, which include getting the approval of the Board of Public Service and the Planning Commission. The Preservation Board also considered this and strongly recommended support for the nomination. And for those reasons, I strongly recommend that the panel approve this nomination with a do pass recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Krasnoff. Is Ms. Brown here from the Central Baptist? Ms. Brown, are you available? Is anybody aware that Ms. Brown?
Mr. Chairman, I spoke to her last night and she anticipated being on the call this morning.
You know, I see someone in the attendees area named Gail Brown. Would that?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Am I here now?
You are here now, Ms. Brown.
Okay. I heard you all talking about me. I was like, where am I? Okay. Thank you so much. I just see that I'm on audio. Do you want me on video or I'm just going to be on audio? That's fine.
It is what that is probably something you control on your end, Ms. Brown.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you're at, but
okay. All right. Well, in the interest of time, I'm looking at my controls and I only see, hold on a second, maybe.
It's usually down in the left-hand corner. At least it is on mine, and there's a way of.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you very much. I think we're all set up now. Thank you very much. Okay. Committee Chair Alderman Rhodey, good to see you. Also, thank you, Alderwoman Marlene Davis, and all the distinguished committee members. Good morning. We thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this morning in support of Board Bill 203. Again, my name is Gail Brown. I am a lifelong member and trustee of Central Baptist Church. I come to you today on behalf of Pastor Anthony L. Riley and the entire Central Baptist Church membership. We are excited, proud, and honored to share with you why we pursue this prestigious designation to be recognized as a historic landmark in the city of St. Louis. In March of 2021, couple months here, we will celebrate our church's 175th anniversary. Since inception, Central has engaged in activities of significance with a focus on education, outreach, and social justice. This location, this building, is a symbol of our determination and resilience throughout the years. We feel that this designation will give honor and recognition for the efforts and sacrifice of all those before us who have made such a significant impact on the life of our church and to the St. Louis region. We believe that the awareness of our history will serve to inspire generations to come. Some of the names from our congregation that are part of the city's great history that we celebrate include John Richard Anderson, our second pastor, who was a conductor on the Underground Railroad and builder of our first house of worship at 8th and Green Street, which is now Lucas Avenue. Our seventh pastor, John Lewis Cochran, was instrumental in the organization of the Pine Street YMCA and the Phyllis Wheatley branch of the YWCA. Our eighth pastor, George Stevens, was instrumental in organizing Vashon and Sumner High School for people of color. Pastor Stevens also helped elect Central's member Walt Hall Moore Sr. as the first African-American Missouri State representative. Historian and educator Julia Davis, a member of Central during the Pastor T. Huntley era, raised funds to purchase books and materials for about people of color. Today, Her contributions continue to be recognized as there is a St. Louis Public Branch Library named in her honor. Our 11th pastor, T. Huntley, instituted what's known as the Church on Wheels ministry in 1948. This ministry traveled to VA hospitals, housing, inmate housing, and throughout the neighborhood to take church to the community. Under Huntley's tenure, a social welfare ministry was organized to provide food and clothing, and this ministry still continues today. Huntley, a graduate of Morehouse, invited classmate Dr. Martin Luther King to preach at Central during the Civil Rights Movement of the 60s. This building and location tells the story of Central's determination and resilience. In 1971, as Dan mentioned, our church was destroyed by fire. The congregation organized and raised funds to build a new church. Member William E. Lee served as lead architect. The newly designed building was modern, but paid tribute to the past with its beautiful stained glass windows and doors, stone front, and bell tower. In 2007, a tornado heavily damaged our sanctuary. Again, Central would have to rebuild. Then Pastor Robert C. Scott launched a That's Crazy campaign, and the sanctuary was renovated with the ideal of serving the congregation during present times and well into the future. In April of 2019, we were blessed with a dynamic visionary leader, Anthony L. Riley, who has a bold vision for the future that builds upon the foundation of education, outreach, social justice, and resilience. The strategic and development plan currently underway is ambitious and will continue to build upon this foundation to serve the needs of the community for the next 175 years and beyond. Again, we just thank you for this opportunity to present. We thank you again, Alderwoman Davis, for the sponsorship of this bill. And we thank the entire committee and appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Always good to see you. We'll open it up now to Alderwoman 19th. Do you have anything else to say before we go through the committee and ask questions?
Just very quickly, I would like to say that the churches in this Midtown area, most especially, are some of the oldest churches in this region. We even have a church, First Baptist Church, that is serving in the 204th year. It was the first organized church that Blacks could attend east of the Mississippi here in this area. I am so proud to be representing them. And as they know, I worship with all of them on a regular basis, not on special occasions, but on a regular basis. But I do appreciate this bill, and I hope that everyone else appreciates the history that is surrounding it. And on that, sir, I'd like to let everybody ask questions. Thank you.
Certainly a remarkable history, and we're celebrating. We'll go through the committee at this point. Alderman Boyd, would you have any questions of the sponsor, or either of the speakers?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Alderwoman Hubbard, do you have any questions of the sponsor or speakers?
I just have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I am just sitting here so proud just to see this happening for a church that I think is so deserving. In the community that I grew up in Car Square, you either went to St. Nicholas Catholic Church or you went to Central Baptist. My godmother, Kathy Smothers, whom I lost this past year during COVID, she was a devout member of that church. Even times when she had fell sick and couldn't make it, she always had me take her downtown to get her tithes. Her sister, Vicky Smothers, is still there. My cousin, Katrina Hubbard, attends that church. So just over the years, I can just definitely just say what I've seen that church be to many of my constituents and many other people in my family. It has definitely been an anchor in our community. And sometimes when you're going through stuff in the community, the church is the only place you find hope to really just keep going. And this church has been that for such a long time. And I just want to congratulate you all. It's I couldn't think of a church in our community that's more deserving. And I definitely would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And thank you so much, Alderwoman Davis, for just having this vision to do this right now, because I couldn't think of a better time to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Kodar, do you have any questions? Alderman Kodar? Okay. Alderwoman Spencer, is Alderwoman Spencer with us? Alderman Oldenburg, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Brown, thank you so much for coming and visiting us today and speaking to this. I really appreciate it. And I would also echo a lot of what the Alderwoman from the 5th Ward just said too, in terms of the support that and how important this is for sure. I also would like to be added as a co-sponsor, if it's all right with Alderwoman Davis.
Yes.
Please add the Alderman from the 16th as a co-sponsor. Alderwoman Boyd.
Hello, Ms. Brown. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. As usual, you're on point. So we really appreciate it. I wasn't a member of that church, but I was a member of Washington Tabernacle. And so I know the history of the churches in that area and how they built the African-American community from those churches. And that shows the power of our churches. And that's what I'm trying to send a message, that you all have a power that could support and help rebuild our communities. So thank you very much. And I would like to be a co-sponsor.
Please add Alderwoman from the 27th as a co-sponsor. If there are no, we do have some non-committee members present. If anybody would like to say or say anything or ask any questions. Oh, we have the Alderwoman from the 4th has her hand up. Alderwoman.
Yes, I would also love to have my name added as a co-sponsor of this bill.
Okay, please add Alderman from the 4th as a co-sponsor. I see that the Alderman from the 22nd has his hand up now. We will circle back to him. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please add me as a co-sponsor as well.
Please add the Alderman from the 22nd as a co-sponsor. I believe that concludes, I don't see anyone else's hands up. If there are no other questions, then our comments, the chair will entertain a motion on this board bill, which is, I have to switch back to see the number again. Board bill number 203.
I move to pass board bill 203 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
There is a motion from the Alderman from the 22nd, a second by the Alderman from the 16th. There's a request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, to previous roll, we'll consider board bill number 203 passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Thank you.
I believe that actually concludes our business.
Thank you.
And our committee's work for the session. So hopefully without, we won't have a misfire and have to come back for anything. Thank you all. Ms. Brown, always pleasure seeing you. Thanks everybody. And I think we need to adjourn at this point.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Rhodey, real quick, I hope we see you again. I hope this is not it.
Well, I guess we'll have 1 or 2 more meetings, so we ought to be. You know, we'll do a celebration when we can all get back together again.
Okay, all right.
And thank you for your service, Alderman Rhodey.
Well, thank you, Gail.
We'll miss you.